Hey everyone, this is your Minion of the East, and this is another late night rambles vlog basically. And I just had something on my mind lately that I was in a discussion with a couple of my friends on Discord about redemption arcs when it comes to at least villains becoming heroes or, overturning their evil ways. And I wanted to pitch my 2 cents on the idea because I've had this thought bubbling in my brain about how media's been portraying it as of late. I mean, it's not something new, but it's just been like a huge resurgence over the last 3 to 4 years, I've noticed. And that all came from My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, which, well, if you see the title card, you'll know. If any of you are My Little Pony fans, you probably know of this redemption. For those of you who don't know, around the 5th season of the show, we were introduced to a new villain called Starlight Glimmer. And she was portrayed as, like, at least by the show staff, a more realistic type of villain that they were portraying, like someone who's not like a god or an evil deity, something that was on their equal level. Well, basically, she manipulated people into following her own fake philosophy, like into some sort of cult, like town or setting. So what happened was she got away. And sorry, I'm kind of still talking to my friends at the moment as well, so forgive me if I'm typing. But basically, she got away at for the beginning of the season. At the end of the season, she came back, and she tries to undo the heroes that stopped her plans by resetting time so that they never happened. Basically, what happened was it fucked up all of what happens in time. So we got multiple timelines going on, and it just keeps going on for, from what they said, like an eternity of sorts, never relenting. So the only way to stop her was, well, to redeem her. After we found out how she became like this, she only because she felt left out. There's a lot to take in. I'm mostly summarizing here, but basically, the reason why she became a villain was very, very petty. And if that's all it took for her to become a villain and do all of this, she was not a good villain to begin with. And what's more, all it took for her to be redeemed was talking her down and telling her that she can make friends. And that pissed a lot of people off. And I've seen a lot of people I watch on YouTube talk about this to death on how it was not a good way to redeem the character. And they spent the whole next season showing her how she was redeemed and trying to be a good character. And she's been mostly hit or miss in my book, at least. But it did bring up a good point, and this happened later on in season 7, where we pretty much got a god of darkness they had to face. And once again, they redeemed a literal god, talked them down into becoming friends, and that's all it took. And it does highlight a big problem that many shows are redeeming their villains, and from what I've heard from the voices of the creators or the show writers, that they're just misunderstood people like you or I. The problem is you're comparing basically terrorists, cultists, and murderers on the same level as normal citizens or people, and they can be talked down to say, don't do this, become a good guy. And the biggest problem is that they get no punishment for the reprimands on all the bad acts they do. And that sets a bad example for a lot of kids shows nowadays. That you could basically tell your children you can basically make the most bad person in the world good by just simply talking to them and showing them what all the bad things they do, and for getting no getting no bad bad consequences. It really is not only a set of bad example, but it's bad and lazy writing at the same time. It just does not work. And it's not just like the My Little Pony. Steven Universe lately has been showing a bad example as well. Like ever since like going season 2 forward, we've been seeing a lot of Steven trying to redeem, as what the show tries to describe as, like dictators to their own world, and all he had to do to talk him down is like say, let's all be friends, let's make peace, and we can solve everything. And from all the acts that these villains did throughout the show and what they've hinted and shown, they should have not been redeemed. And this is like a bad example. It's because of these two shows that I now fear for many other shows following these examples of trying to redeem villains. And I should not do this because redemption arcs have done well before. One prime example is from Avatar The Last Airbender with Zuko. The thing with Zuko is, though, is that from the start, Zuko was going to be a hero. It just took a while for him to realize the acts he was doing was terrible. And they even brought up in the show that all the terrible acts he did, it wasn't going to just go away. He had to prove to himself that he was a changed person. And even after that episode, it took like 4 other episodes for him to travel with the main characters and get to know them better, and also prove to himself that he was a good person. It took time. It did not just simply go away. And that's why I feel like many shows are trying to replicate that feel from Avatar. Just if they do something similar, they could probably do a good story arc with that. One of the things why I brought this up was from the recent New Ruby episode for Volume 3. And spoilers ahead for people who haven't seen that episode. In episode 3 of Volume 6, we finally get to see the backstory for the main villain of the show, Salem. And we were told through all this lore that she is immortal and she cannot be killed. And for all these actions, she pretty much ended the first of humanity that walked on the planet. All in the act to save her the love of her life. But later on, she soon went to dread of humanity and shun her love. So that makes... this is where the conversation basically led, of someone bringing up, why don't we just end her immortality and try to talk her down? That's where it drove me to make this video, basically. You're basically telling me you would want to try to talk to her and say you want to redeem and forgive the person who basically made all of the first humanity that walked the planet extinct, all because she wanted to save the love of her life and get her revenge on the gods. I just say no. Just no. If you are on that level to think we should forgive someone of that magnitude, I fear for whatever creativity you got right there, or whatever you want to do in real life, because that is not the right way to do things. That's basically like saying you're going to forgive someone who caused a mass genocide. That is just simply wrong right there. I mean, they even, going back to Avatar, they brought this up with Aang coming up with the idea of not trying to kill the Fire Lord. And he even tried to convince himself through his teachings that he should respect all life, even those that would try to take life away. But he was told through his past lives that he should put humanity over his own beliefs. And that is actually the right thing to do. Through convincing, he had no choice but to kill the Fire Lord, but he was still hesitant to do so. It was only through Deus Ex Machina at the finale. And while I still love the show to death, that is one of the very few missteps I have with the episode looking back now. Because there's an idea for what if I have in the future, if I ever do want to do the video in the future, was what if Aang did actually kill the Fire Lord? Like, yeah, he would be devastated and shut himself off from the world because he betrayed his own beliefs, but in actuality, he would come to realize that what he did was for the best of the world, what was best for everyone, including his friends and loved ones. Because if you actually want to redeem a villain, there's got to be a smarter way to write these things out, like that makes them feel like realistically redeemable. And if you do redeem them, you gotta have the punishment of their crimes equal to what they've done. Hence why we had Zuko go through all those turmoils and episodes to prove to himself that he was a good guy. And this is also not just restricted to TV shows or movies or stuff like that. This is also through games. Like, through some of the Telltale games that you got, I know they still come to the same conclusion. They berate you for like making bad decisions or redeeming those that have like done bad deeds. You'll have characters looking at you like, why would you forgive someone for doing something like that? You know they're crazy. Why would you still keep them with you? Like, games like that, they give you choice. You'll have people question like, why would you do that? And often in other games, when you do forgive them, you're going to have consequences like that they'll berate you for being so gullible or so forgiving, and you're going to have consequences for that. Like, one of them is, God, what was the game I was playing? Let me see. Like, I have it on here, the Banner Saga. This is my own experience with Banner Saga. I chose to let a person who was doing bad deeds, like basically persecuting his own people, and I thought about bringing him along because, well, he's going to be a useful tool, but we just got to keep an eye on him. Later down the road, he was not happy how I was doing things. Basically, I was trying to be as a good leader as I can, and he had conflicts with me. So what happened later down the line, he took some of my men, tried to stage a coup, and killed some of my party members as a result when I had to take his own life, and I got injured in the process. So I had my own consequence for trying to trust a guy who was not good to begin with. That's why I feel like these things are going to be bad to begin with redemption arcs. I fear they're going to be bad almost by default from example of what I've been seeing nowadays. You're going to, if you do try to redeem villains, again, try to do a way to make it feel believable and not just for the sake of redeeming them for making them good. And these are why late night rambles. These are all unscripted, and these are just the top of my thoughts. Now, like I just fear like these redemption arcs just set a bad example for story writers and people that watch them to begin with, because they'll follow by example and feel they could replicate it and do something good for, well, these are going to make people happy. But if you do right, you gotta make it feel tangible, like in the realm of reality, not something just saying, oh, just do it for the sake of making them good. It's just not that simple. Because the majority of the time I've seen these redemption arcs nowadays, they just mostly result in crap or not that well written to begin with. And even the shows I do like My Little Pony or Steven Universe, those are the major downsides to those shows nowadays, that they redeem or forgive people so quickly. But those are my quick thoughts on the subject. Actually, not quick thoughts, 14 minutes of rambling. I just want to see media try to do something better nowadays, instead of just doing redemptions for the sake of redemptions. And anyway, guys, that's all I have to say for tonight. And until next time, this has been your man, the East. So I'll catch you for the next video. So take care.